Hey guys, what's up? MadSeason here, back with another video for you. Throughout the game, there are a bunch of little Easter eggs and secrets for players to find. They're pretty interesting, so in this video, I thought I'd show you 15 of them. Some well known, and others not so much I think. The first one I'd like to mention is the Krasarang Wids stack of papers. At coordinates 5273 in this zone, on top of the island you can find a little hatch with a bunch of skeletons surrounding it. Nearby is a gray vendor trash item called the Stack of Papers. It reads as follows. It looks like a journal of some kind. The last entry, 0515121201, system failure. This is referring to the release date of another Blizzard game, Diablo 3, which was released on May 15th, 2012 at 12:01 AM PDT. Anyone who was into the game back then would know that Diablo 3's release was pretty rocky. For a few days, most people couldn't even log in. They were instead greeted by the infamous Error 37 message saying, "The servers are busy at this time, please try again later." The launch was riddled with technical problems, and Blizzard saw fit to poke fun at themselves with this sneaky reference. Next, we have an oldie but a goodie, and that's the Newton's Apple. In the Outland Nagrand, you can find a few islands floating about. They're of course only reachable with a flying mount, and one of them holds an apple tree with a bunch of apples strewn about, and at the base of the tree lies a skeleton with a splitting headache. This is a reference to Sir Isaac Newton when he came up with the law of gravity, where he was sitting by an apple tree and he watched one fall to the ground, which triggered his eureka moment. I don't remember him being axed in the face though, so just consider that the Warcraft touch. Off the coast of Stranglethorn Vale is an island called Jaguaro Isle. It's populated by a large amount of gorillas with the kingpin, King Mukla. He's a part of a quest where you have to get a key from him to save a princess named Pooba. When you engage him, he has a very peculiar attacking strategy. He throws giant barrels at you. If you haven't figured it out yet, this is a reference to Donkey Kong from the old Mario arcade games by Nintendo, who is also a reference to King Kong. That's referenceception right there. This next one is kind of cheating since it was removed, but it's too relevant to skip. In the alpha version, also on this island, you would find a familiar statue half buried on the beach. This is of course the Statue of Liberty, and it's a reference to the Planet of the Apes movie where, spoiler alert, Taylor discovers that the ape-infested planet he's on is Earth. This was removed before release because it was too immersion breaking I guess, but it did see a return in the Cataclysm expansion all the way north in the Iron Band excavation site in the Loc Modan zone, although it's been scaled down by quite a bit. Throughout the game, there are a ton of these goblin shredder machines. Another Blizzard game reference can be found on their model. Located in the cockpit is a picture of Kerrigan from the StarCraft series in her Zerg Queen form. In the Legion cinematic, you'll notice that Varian Wrynn had a compass that held his son's picture, Anduin. The ship he's on crashes, and the compass is lost in the sea, and you can find it on the Broken Shore later where you return it to Anduin in a short quest chain. But for BlizzCon 2017, if you got the virtual ticket, you were awarded with the Orgrimmar Interceptor and the Stormwind Skychaser mounts. The Skychaser is basically a mini version of Varian's ship in the cinematic, and a nice little Easter egg you can find is his compass located behind the pilot's seat. Another oldie but a goodie can be found in the ruins of Lordaeron above the Undercity. If you turn the ambience all the way up and everything else down, you'll hear audio of the Warcraft 3 cinematic where Arthas kills his father, King Tyrannus. In the bell tower, you can hear the faint ringing of bells. In the hallway leading to the throne room, you can find wilted rose petals and hear the hollering of the crowd hailing his return. And in the throne room, you can hear the dialogue before he murders his father, the king. And moving on to current content, since we're talking about ghosts and whatnot, in Val'sharah, west of Bradensbrook, there's a spooky house atop the hill. Located just outside is something called a vibrating arcane trap, and a dead body lying next to it. Interacting with the dead body says that she perished moments after trapping something dangerous, and if you use the trap, an elite ghost spawns for you to kill. This is of course a reference to the great Ghostbusters film series, except this time it looks like the ghost did the busting. Next up, on the northern shores of Kunlai Summit, you can find a flying turtle named Lon'li Guju. This is a reference to Lonesome George, a Pinta Island tortoise. He was the last known tortoise of his species, and his keepers tried unsuccessfully for 40 years to find him a mate to keep his species from going extinct. Sadly, time ran out and George passed away from old age at over 100 years old, and the Pinta Island tortoise species is now believed to be extinct. Lon'li Guju is an in-game tribute to Lonesome George, and if you use the /wavy mode on him, he'll accompany you in your adventures in Pandaria. Not so lonesome anymore. For quite a while, a huge request in the game has been player housing. People want to be able to pick a spot within the world, put down a house, and call it home. Blizzard did very briefly test this in the beta, but it didn't last too long since it would cause problems with people blocking off important areas of the game. Their big reason though was that it was such a major feature that they would have to skip an entire raid tier to be able to implement it correctly. Well, in the Warlords of Draenor expansion, we of course got the garrison system, which I think we can all agree was acclaimed by most of the population. Incidentally, the Warlords of Draenor expansion held the smallest amount of raids, just 3 total, and sure enough, if you look in the graveyard of the Alliance garrison, you'll notice one that reads Raid D tier. Just as Blizzard said, a casualty of player housing. Our next Easter egg lies in the Uldaman dungeon. If you hang a left and head towards a room called Dig 2, you'll notice 3 dwarves who seem to be quite lost. Their names are Balog, Eric the Swift, and Olaf. This is a reference to Blizzard's 1992 Super Nintendo game, The Lost Vikings. This was a puzzle/platformer game starring the 3 Vikings, Eric the Swift, Balog the Fierce, and Olaf the Stout. These Vikings would also be featured as playable characters in Blizzard's MOBA game, The Heroes of the Storm. And near the Lost Vikings is Balog's journal, which tells you how to open a secret room within the dungeon. You need 2 items, the Medallion of Nikiv from the nearby chest, and the Shaft of Soul from a nearby Trog boss. These items spelled backwards read the Lost Vikings. This is a little outdated though, since these items no longer actually exist to make the dungeon a little more simple. The journal goes on to say that you can combine these items to form the Staff of Prehistoria, and that you can use this staff to open a secret room. Now, as I've said, those components are no longer in the game, but you can still activate the event. You put this staff in a pedestal located nearby, and you'll see a very familiar scene. This is referencing the great movie, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, where Indy puts the Staff of Ra into the floor and learns the location of the Ark. Neat, huh? In the Elwyn Forest, you can find a lake called Crystal Lake. It holds a few enemies such as murlocs and whatnot, and it's the setting for a few quests. But on the docks, you can find an NPC named Jason Mathers. Jason Mathers at Crystal Lake? This is a reference to the horror movie franchise Friday the 13th with the hockey mask wearing bad guy, Jason Voorhees. Just remember, if you're fishing here, don't let your guard down. Next, heading on over to Northrend for a moment, we have an Easter egg in the Sholazar Basin zone. On this island, you can find a small hatch, and if you mouse over it, you'll notice a peculiar sequence of numbers. 5, 9, 16, 17, 24, and 43. This refers to the popular Lost television series with that mysterious sequence of numbers that they had to keep punching into the computer to keep the island from blowing up, with just 1 added to each digit. A cool little reference, although I haven't seen any black smoke monsters yet. This next one might actually be useful for you since it gives you an in-game pet. If you head over to Saldine's farm in the Westfall zone, you'll notice a bunch of chickens roaming about. If you do the /chicken emote at them enough times, you'll get their attention and they'll look at you quizzically and offer a quest. The chicken scratches Saldine's name into the dirt, and if you visit him and buy an item called the Special Chicken Feed, return to the chicken, and to do the /cherry mode at it, you can give the feed to complete the quest. The chicken will then lay an egg that you can pick up, and upon use, you get the Westfall Chicken Battle Pet. Now, this isn't Alliance only. Saldine will be hostile towards you if you're Horde, but luckily, there's also a Horde vendor that sells the feed located in the Tearsfall Glade zone. I'll have a link to it in the description for all of you Horde players out there. So, that's about it for this one. Those are 15 Easter eggs / secrets in World of Warcraft. Pretty interesting stuff, I think, and if you'd like to see more or if you have any suggestions, let me know and I might make a follow-up. As always, I hope you found the video entertaining, like it if you liked it, and
farewell for now, mortals. We hope you enjoyed today's video. See you again soon.